Hey everyone. So today we're going to dive into a topic that's incredibly serious and frankly, very urgent. It's a story about a crime that's happening in silence, in homes all around the world, and it's being enabled by a strange and terrifying mix of ancient laws and brand new technology. So let's just get right into it. She thought she knew her husband. Just let that sentence sink in for a second. It's the beginning of a story that takes place in what's supposed to be the safest place in the world, your own home. It's about a betrayal so deep, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Take the story of Zoe Watts. For 16 years, she built a life with her husband. They had a home, they had kids, but for years, he was secretly crushing their son's sleeping pills into her tea every night. He would wait for her to pass out, helpless, and then he would assault her. She'd wake up the next morning with no memory, completely unaware that this was happening again and again in her own bed. Now, Zoe's story is horrifying, but it is not a one-off. Over in France, the case of Giselle Pellicot exposed a very similar kind of betrayal, but with this terrifying modern twist. For almost a decade, her husband drugged her and then invited dozens of men he found on the internet to come into their home and rape her. Her case just proves that this is a global crime, and the internet is pouring gasoline on the fire. Giselle Pellicot did something incredibly brave during her trial. She waived her right to anonymity, and she said something that echoed all over the world. Shame must change sides. And with that one statement, she's forcing all of us to look past the individual monsters and ask the bigger question. What kind of system, what kind of society allows these crimes to happen in the first place? So why is it that in dozens of countries, what happened to Zoe and Giselle might not even be considered a crime? The answer, and this is pretty shocking, goes all the way back to a legal idea that's almost 400 years old. I mean, really, where does an ideal like this even begin? The notion that a husband just can't rape his wife? It sounds completely insane to us today. But the truth is, this idea is baked into the legal DNA of countries all over the world. Okay, so let's meet the person behind this, Sir Matthew Hale. He was a judge in England back in the 17th century, and he basically declared that when a woman gets married, she gives her husband consent to sex that she can never take back. In his mind, the marriage vow itself was a permanent, unbreakable yes. And Hale's doctrine didn't just stay in the 17th century. Oh no. As the British Empire expanded, this legal idea was exported across the globe. And today, it's still a direct influence on the laws in at least 18 Commonwealth nations, many of them in Africa and Asia. A 400-year-old idea is still denying women justice right now. And this isn't just some historical fun fact. Right now, as we speak, there are more than 30 countries around the world where marital rape is not explicitly a crime. Think about that. In over 30 countries, a woman legally loses the right to say no to her husband the moment she says I do. Okay, so how does this actually play out in a modern legal system? Let's take a closer look at Kenya, because it's a perfect example of how this centuries-old thinking creates a legal loophole that protects abusers today. So if you look at the law in Kenya, you see this really stark contradiction. On the one hand, their Sexual Offenses Act says pretty clearly that rape is penetration without consent. Makes sense. But then you get to Section 43, and it flat out says that rule does not apply to people who are married. It is a specific written-out exception that basically makes marital rape legal. And legal experts at Strathmore University in Kenya, they are not mincing words. They call this exemption an outright form of discrimination that strips spouses from seeking redress. They point out that it completely goes against the spirit of Kenya's own modern constitution. So for centuries, how did legal systems even justify this kind of silence? Well, it all boils down to three core theories. And honestly, each one is more dehumanizing than the last that were used to argue that marital rape was, well, impossible. So theory number one is implied consent. This comes straight from Sir Matthew Hale. The argument is that the wedding ceremony itself acts as a woman's permanent, ongoing agreement to sex. The wedding vow gets twisted into a perpetual yes. Next up is the unity of person theory. Now, this one is pretty wild. It's this archaic belief that when a man and woman marry, they legally merge into a single person. And guess whose identity they take on? The husband's. So under this theory, a husband can't be guilty of raping his wife because he can't be guilty of raping himself. It's a total erasure of the woman as an individual. And that brings us to the third and, frankly, the most disgusting theory of all, the property theory. This one is simple and brutal. It suggests that once a woman is married, she becomes her husband's property. And in that world, forced sex isn't rape because a man is just using what belongs to him. So we have these ancient misogynistic legal ideas still lingering. Now, let's talk about what happens when you throw the jet fuel of modern technology onto that smoldering fire.
This is where it gets even darker. A bombshell CNN investigation uncovered what it called a global online rape academy. This was a hidden global network of men, all in organized online groups, actively teaching each other how to drug and sexually assault their own wives.
And this wasn't just talk, it was a literal curriculum of abuse. They were sharing techniques for drugging, step-by-step guides for committing the assaults, how to film the attacks without getting caught, and, most chillingly, how to share the images of the abuse with each other. But these organized online networks are just one part of the digital threat. The problem is evolving even faster now, with the rise of AI-generated sexual abuse. And the scale of this is just staggering. A report from the UNFPA found that 96% of all deepfake videos online are pornographic, and they almost exclusively feature women, often without their consent. Many of these AI-generated videos are simulations of rape. So what we're really watching happen is an old crime getting armed with terrifying new tools. Marital rape is now being scaled globally through these online networks. Physical assault now has a digital twin in the form of AI-generated abuse. And those old legal loopholes, they're now joined by a complete legal vacuum when it comes to this new tech. And this is where we get to the truly brutal irony of it all. You have some countries racing to write new laws to fight AI abuse, which is good. But at the same time, huge parts of the world haven't even outlawed the original crime of marital rape yet. You can't legislate against AI-generated spousal abuse in a country where a husband raping his wife isn't even a crime in the first place. Women are just trapped in the middle. So, what do? Can we just unplug the internet? Of course not. The real problem here is that technology has evolved so much faster than our laws and our culture. We have these harmful, centuries-old ideas that are now armed with 21st century tools, and the damage is spreading globally, which leaves us all with a terrifying question. Is it already too late to catch up?